There is no such thing as a people jar, such as you see all the time in science fiction, cinema, and TV, nor is there any viable means of accelerated gestation and maturation. For the rat ending subjects, that means born with rats, nursed by rats, reared by rats, and living in rat environments. For this purpose, let's say an extensive semi-natural one, skewed heavily toward rat preferences, living quarters, and patrol spaces. For the human ending subjects, if we're looking for human-style development and performance, that will require human-type levels of gestation, nurturing, learning, and maturation time in a functioning social environment. And that means a genuine human environment, ordinary families, and ordinary society as a serious design parameter. You can't keep them in a stereotyped science fiction facility because if you marginalize them, you interfere with the performance variables. Don't forget the double blinding, such that none of the subjects, the families, or the people recording data would know which individuals came from which original species. Arguably, the subjects and families wouldn't even know about that aspect of the experiment at all. I raise this to strike to the heart of the man-beast false dichotomy. Let's say the techniques are eventually rock solid, amazing, and we get lovely rats from both the experimental subjects and their positive controls. Some of them were born from the pairing of human beings. Consider them carefully, the rat pups in this project, regardless of parentage. They live in their rodent environment, sleeping, patrolling, eating, and socializing in rat fashion. They squabble, huddle, and burrow, and yes, mate like rats. Even if the experimental subjects happen to be non-reproductive, that doesn't stop them from giving it a good try. They last for the several years that rats get, they age, and they die. Similarly, consider the kids in this project, both the other group of experimental subjects and their positive controls. Some of them were born from the pairing of rats. They are human children, raised in families, probably observing various religious practices, going to daycare, going to school, wearing backpacks, playing with favorite toys, finding friends, and making a place in their families and social lives. They get sick, and they get hurt, and they need family help and support. They learn, laugh, and cry. They're loved and included just as any children are, which is to say to varying degrees. They grow up, they have favorite music, squabble in their pre-adolescent and adolescent cliques, and they seek an adult identity. If you're horrified, is that because the project would treat humans as experimental subjects like the rest? Is it time to talk about the dignity of humans who, by every imaginable metric, are experiencing the absolute minimum of stress and pain? Or because it would treat a member of another species exactly like a fellow human? Is it time to ask the same question raised regarding human-on-human bigotry? Would you let one marry your sister? Or take the issue of their legal status relative to being under scientific observation. It's not ipso facto illegal or wrong to study humans scientifically. Humans are the most extensively studied species on the planet. We have voluntarily normative observation, voluntary clinical trials, and use of already available information across non-planned groupings. In a study of this kind, with no pain and no limitation of movement, with only normative observations, permission would lie with parental consent, or with those empowered to act as parents. Is that what applies here too? I assume that few or no parents would permit their children to be in the rat-ended experimental group, but would it apply to all the children with human features, human origin or not? In fact, are the people who raise them, who ideally would not know their origins, legally their adopted parents? Is this, real adoption? The issue lies in our inability to process that humans are a kind of animal. This is the freakout moment I described in Chapter 3 because the leveling of human and non-human already exists but is now made visible and put into practice. It necessarily places humans of non-human origin into our own society, and therefore this project grades right outward from development, physiology, and evolution into social engineering. Individual compliance with professional regulations is no longer the concern because it's not single study ethics at stake. Instead, the challenges are made to and demands made upon policy, which means this concerns justice.